the stream started. So, what are we looking at this morning? PRPH popped up at 7 o'clock. I didn't take a trade on it, but came up, looked pretty solid. Decent volume on the way up. Now kind of just, dipping a little bit, consolidated, and then dipped below VWAP. So, one below VWAP a tiny bit. Nothing really too concerning. If it comes back up, I think it still is looking good. That sell-off's a little concerning. But, it seems to just be in consolidation just below VWAP right now. So, does have the potential to come back up. So, we'll definitely keep an eye on it. GNLN also popped up somewhat recently, but isn't really doing too much. We also have RKDA. RKDA leading gapper in the market right now, but it also hasn't really done much. Came up to $4, around $5.15. Now it's pulled back down to $3, so lost a full dollar off the top. Definitely not what you want to see. Gonna try to keep the share size a little smaller today, since it seems like we don't have great momentum at the moment in anything that we've seen. So SGRP just popped up about 30%, but very light volume. First minute candle only had 38,000 shares. Took a while for it to come up. News popped up at 7:30, but the bump didn't actually happen until 7:31, which I think is pretty uncharacteristic if something's coming up on news that actually matters. So we're gonna wait on this. We've gotten burned buying into these first these first moves before. So we're just gonna chill today, wait for a pullback, see if we can move above that pullback, and then if it seems like that some stocks are actually catching some momentum today, then we'll start making some trades. But if we bought on the breakout of 202, which is the target price that we're looking to buy out or buy into, popped up to 207, 5-cent breakout, but has now pulled back to 186. So that's a story of the last week. That's why I'm gonna wait a little longer on these. I'm not just gonna immediately try to take trades on them. Trying to adjust to what we're seeing in the market at the moment. What we're seeing in the market is not good. I mean, the overall market has been doing very well. And actually check to see what's going on with it today. But yeah, I mean, moved sideways yesterday, but still very close to all-time highs. So, literally hit all-time highs pre-market yesterday, I think, didn't it? Or the day before. So yeah, I mean, overall market's still looking really, really strong. And SGRP now is pulled back pretty significantly, so I really doubt we're going to end up taking a trade on this. Both of these red candles have, similar volume to this green candle back here. So, essentially highest volume candle of the day is a red candle. So, looking like it's going to just keep pulling back. PRPH, we have a chance of this popping up. Again, like I said before, I want to see some confirmation in the market before I buy into any of these things. And it really seems like not much not too much is going on in the low float market at the moment. What's going on, House? How's the morning going? I woke up very recently. I am very tired. So, uh, looks like we might be seeing a little bit of a slow day as well. So, we'll try to keep speaking, but there isn't too much to talk about at the moment. Uh, yeah, it's just the low flow market has just been really iffy lately. Yeah, I feel you. Same. Yeah, the low float market's just been rough lately. I don't know why. Oh, fast and slothy. Thanks for the follow, man. I appreciate that. Um, it's kind of weird that the low flow market has been as like flat as it has been. Things have been popping up on, or at least in the pre-market. During market hours, I think there has been some good moves, but obviously, like having a job, I can't trade into. Well, I can trade into the market open, but not very long afterwards. Um, so I kind of miss all of those moves that are happening during the day. So it seems like a lot of momentum has shifted from pre-market and just the open into a little later in the day. So we've had a lot of just moving sideways pre-market, just pulling back. Obviously has some nice bumps coming up on news to start the day. Yeah, cool. Yeah, I'm here every morning. Dub85. I appreciate the follow. Thanks, man. Um, but yeah, I mean the last few weeks have been for the overall market. The last few weeks have been great. We're pushing back to all-time highs. We made all-time high in the SPY. Uh, like 2 days ago. How long have I been trading? I haven't been trading too long, actually. Probably only been trading like 5 months or something like that, 4 months. Uh, and then maybe watching some stuff a little before that. Um, and then I only started streaming last month. And I think streaming for trading is pretty underrated um, for practice. Definitely. I would recommend like if you guys are into streaming, or if you guys are into trading and like you're working on getting better at trading, especially like day trading and not so much like swing trading, like lower time frame stuff. Streaming is definitely interesting because it definitely makes you stay more honest to the plan that you have, since you know that you have like people watching you and they expect to have some form of consistency to the things that you're doing. Nice. No, I didn't see the Pfizer news today. What's Pfizer coming up on? Also, what even is the Pfizer ticker? Let's see. They announced new results for COVID-19 studies on adolescents. Oh, nice. Are they the first vaccine to actually do that? Because I feel like nearly every other vaccine, yeah, doesn't allow adolescents to take it. So I think that's pretty interesting. Unfortunately, it doesn't seem to have reflected in their stock price very much. Moved up over 25 cents. For how big of news that is, I'm surprised that it hasn't moved the stock price a little bit more. Uh, yeah, as I was saying before, pre-market has been pretty rough lately. The actual market been hitting all-time highs. or very close to all-time highs. You know, consolidating SPY's consolidating above 390 right now, so everything's looking good in the in the wider market. But low floats in the morning have been a little bit flat. We see a bunch of stuff pop up on news. Like we're looking at PRPH right now. So PRPH came from 750 to 930 in 4 candles, 4 minutes. But now it's kind of pulled back, moving sideways right below VWAP. So it's not really like we haven't really been holding these levels very well. Like even for dip trades, like I don't know, you got to take a risk every time you're taking a dip trade, and most of the dip trades haven't really been resolving very well at all. It's been super choppy. We've seen stuff just turn around and sell off for seemingly no reason. I definitely think it's more of a short-centric market at the moment. Yeah, I could see that actually. Um, I would think that would probably be for like the coming school year, like starting in September. Um, I know that there are already some states that are going back full time at the moment, so I think it would be very hard to get all the students vaccinated like so quickly. But I think definitely by September, I can see the requirement for a vaccine to go back to school. Yeah, Pfizer. I mean, Pfizer had a little bit of a bump, but still looks like it's trading on essentially no volume pre-market at the moment. I definitely think for longer term play, like if you're planning on holding, might be a good idea because I'm fairly certain they are the first vaccine to have it available for adolescents, which is good. I mean, it's really nice. I still haven't gotten my vaccine yet. I don't know when. I live in Massachusetts, so I don't. They've been pretty embarrassingly bad at vaccine-related things, so I have no idea when I'm actually going to be able to get mine. I guess technically I don't live in Massachusetts. I live in New Hampshire. I work in Massachusetts. So PRPH coming back down. It had a chance here on the 1 minute. You could see tapped up through VWAP a couple times. A little bit of descending resistance as it was coming up through VWAP. Just didn't hold it. And yeah, in the past like week, I've taken a lot of trades. Um, yeah, I saw that house, which is really unfortunate. Yeah, that's awesome. California is like the most highly vaccinated state, I think, at the moment. I mean, Massachusetts has been terrible though. Like until like the federally mandated vaccines for teachers and like the federal supply was shipped to some of the other pharmacies. Like the actual Massachusetts supply of vaccines was like abysmal. Like no one was getting vaccinated. But now it's gotten slightly better up here. And it's interesting because I would think that Massachusetts would be a state that would be more on top of it. Like it seems like that would be like a priority for them, but apparently something just slipped through the cracks. I don't know. I looked at GameStop this morning. Um, yeah, GameStop, pushed through 200 twice yesterday, but couldn't hold the level both times. And now we're approaching 200 again. I'm interested to see how this ends up going today. If this is going to be, a little bit of consolidation that breaks back down, or if we actually break out of this consolidation range and start pushing back up towards 300. So we're putting in a nice little wedge here. Look at like the a 4-hour chart here. Let's see. Yeah, so nice little wedge. Nice little wedge shape. So we'll see which way it ends up breaking out of this range. It looks like it's consolidating closer and closer. We might get a dip back down, a little bit more consolidation, like dipping back down, even closer to 180. We're still in this range of consolidation. So I could see us dipping back down a little bit. But the next time we break over 200, it's going to have to hold it, since the upper level of resistance is already pushing down through it. No, I haven't. SNGX. What these guys got? They had earnings yesterday, I think. Announcements recent. What do they got here? Ricin toxin vaccine candidates. Lugar, appreciate the follow, man. Here every day. You want to just hang out and talk about stuff pre-market? I see that they have a ricin toxin vaccine candidate, but can you wait? For the prevention of COVID, they're using a ricin to try to prevent COVID? Thanks, man. Sologenics Inc. Let's check these boys out. Oh, they got lymphoma treatment and Crohn's to prevent ricin poisoning. That is such a strange thing. Well, first of all, I didn't realize ricin poisoning was a public health issue. I personally have never met anyone who has been afflicted with ricin poisoning, so that's interesting. What's this other one they got? I actually like that on their website they have this is very human readable. Their website, and they have a bacterial infection stuff going on. Nice. I've never traded forex. I feel like your brain has to be wrinklier to trade forex. I feel like you need to know more about the currencies that you're trading. At least with low float trading, you can check the news and see if the catalyst is strong. Or there are periods of time where strong catalysts or a certain type of catalyst is much stronger. So at the end of February, beginning of March, everything was popping up on NFT trading platforms, and whenever there was NFT news, that stock usually always moved. So you look out for catalysts that are doing really well. As of right now, it seems like the NFT trend has kind of dropped off for the last week or so. And I don't really see anything right now that's still trending that way. But yeah, for the most part, with low floats, you pretty much don't need to know anything about the company, and then you just trade on technicals. And like I said, if the catalyst is something specific that's very good. Oh yeah. So I mean, there are definitely people who are way better at that than me. Especially there are people who use all kinds of indicators and stuff. My graphs are relatively bare, I'd say. There are people who use Bollinger Bands and MACD and RSI and all kinds of Fibonacci retracements and all kinds of weird stuff. I usually don't do any of that. I mostly just trade on what is essentially just trends. So candle breakouts, buying dip trades off of VWAP, or as it pushes down through VWAP. But besides VWAP, I really don't use any of the other indicators to trade off of. I know people use like the EMAs and the SMAs, but I have the or SMAs on my chart. I think I have like 250 and 20, which are what these lines are. Like the green line, the brown line, and the purple line on my charts. But I generally don't use those as a place to trade off of. Mostly I just work around like prior resistance levels. Yeah. So on Thinkorswim, like on any chart that you're using, if you click on studies, and you can like add like a quick study which has like all of the things here that you can look for. I don't know where VWAP is on this actually, but if you go to add study and then you go to all studies, like you can go down and find VWAP in like the V to W section. Or you can like edit your studies, and then they have like a nicer little window that pops up. I can't show you because my OBS isn't capturing it, but they have a window that pops up that you can just like control all of the lines and stuff that you put on it. And then for me, I don't really like the top and bottom lines of VWAP. I don't generally trade off of those. So in my VWAP study, I've removed the top and bottom lines. Yeah, no problem. I actually really like Thinkorswim for the charts. I think as I get better, maybe I'll grow out of Thinkorswim and need another charting platform. Just because Thinkorswim updates, I would say, very slowly in comparison to some of the paid charting programs that I've seen. As in, like, especially when stocks are very volatile, like each tick on Thinkorswim is probably like a half of a second. And like sometimes it does not update very well. I'll say that, especially into the open. Sometimes you get some lag on the charts. They got neck cancer treatment that is the only one that's being pushed by the FDA. Oh, that's interesting. It is free, Shamshir. What's going on, man? How you doing this morning? I was telling these guys earlier that I am shot this morning. Woke up at like 7 o'clock, and I was like, got in the shower and then sat down, and I was like, oh god, it's already time to stream. But nothing is coming up this morning, so there's nothing for me particularly to do. Oh Jesus, you should go to sleep, man. Yeah, it's pretty early over there, I guess. Oh, that is true. Yeah, like if you wanted to trade pre-market over in California, you'd have to wake up really early. Jesus. Guess I haven't really thought about that. Yeah, like I said before, I'm on the East Coast. I live in New Hampshire, so. East Coast definitely has the advantage. Yeah. I don't have to wake up at 6 o'clock in the morning if I want to trade into the regular market. Yeah, if I want to trade pre-market over there, I'd have to wake up at 4:30 in the morning to start streaming when I do. Pre-market and aftermarket trading didn't exist. No, I don't have a Pfizer position. We were looking at it earlier, just because someone, I think it might have been Fast, or who was talking about it earlier. Let's see. Yeah, Fast was talking about it earlier. So we were just looking at it. I kind of agree with what you were saying, where it's like I can see, coming back into next school year, especially with like the news for like the adolescent vaccine. I could see it definitely being a good play. I don't generally hold things for longer periods of time though. At least on like this account that I have. Like I have like other account that's invested, and like my retirement that's invested and stuff. But this account is just like for me to practice day trading on. So I don't, I don't really invest in anything on it. But I might consider getting a position, you know, maybe my retirement account or something, for Pfizer. So I could definitely see it going up as the vaccine becomes more widely available. They just had the trial for the adolescent one. Is the is it the same vaccine as the one that they're giving out right now, or is it a different vaccine? Because if it's the same vaccine, then that'd be, really really good. Because they don't have to manufacture anything different. They could just start giving it out. Yeah. And Shamshire, yeah, CSCW yesterday, kind of a bummer. Pretty much everything yesterday, kind of a bummer to be honest with you. So CSCW came up like just after the open, but then pulled back like for the next 2 hours. Oh, there's a lot of skipping on my stream. Any other guys getting that? I'm sorry about that. I don't know what I can do to fix that. I guess I can like stream it like a lower bit rate. Um, I've never really like considered like the bit rate that I'm streaming at or anything. So maybe I can lower that at some point. Yeah, but CSCW yesterday. I mean, we had like a decent trade. Let's see here. We're looking at the minute chart. Check out the 5 minute chart too. Yeah, so back here, I mean, like we took a decent trade on it. I think as it was coming up here, but even so, like that decent trade ended up yielding like 20 cents. So not a huge movement, you know. And then coming into the open, dipped a little bit at the just at the bell. Came back up in two really nice 1 minute candles, but then after this, it just pulled back the entire day. So unless you got your profit like in between 230 and 260, which I mean on the come down here, you probably take some profit as it's coming down closer to 250. But then again, it's only like it ends up being like a 20-cent move. Yeah. Yeah, I wasn't trading it back here on CSCW. I didn't take this initial trade on the way up. Um, Also, we're about to hit 8 o'clock. So, 8 o'clock. Watch those scanners, boys. For anyone new to the chat, so a bunch of you guys that just came in today, you can go to oliveguardians.com. I have my scanners up there. That's what I grab my stuff that I trade off of every day. Guess I could probably do a rundown of what these things are. Real quick, we got 15 seconds before 8 o'clock. So I look at anything that's moved above 25%, which is this chart up here. So this will say like anything in the market that's moved above 25%. We only got 2 of those right now. And then I look at like the active movers, which are things that have gone up more than 8% in the last 5 minutes and have over 50,000 shares of volume traded. So it's pretty much things that are coming up on news. So those are the 2 things that I mainly look at. Then you can look at like specifically low float, medium float, or higher float stocks. And then if you want to take like a dip trade on something, you can have things that have moved below 10%. But I don't generally look at those. Yeah, and if anyone's got like criteria they think is better for scanners, feel free to hit me up with a message, and maybe we can throw it up on the site. So DCTH just popped up. This is a very strange chart. What's with this chart? So it had earnings this morning, I guess. Okay, so we have earnings. If we look at the daily, holy, what is with this? Apparently, this thing was worth a lot of money at some point in the past. Um, yeah, this $25 mark, 25.50. So this is, recent resistance. We pushed up through it in this first candle, but then immediately fell down. So I don't think this is coming back up. This is not looking good. It's already pulled back $6 from the high. Green means good. Yeah, green's good. So pretty much like the movers in the charts. Also, Lugdor, Donkey Konga is a great game. I was thinking about playing it one day, now that I have the actual bongos for it. House talking about NFT stuffs. Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of the NFT things, but it has really been the only catalyst that's actually like yielded good results in the last 2 weeks. So it's like you gotta buy into the companies that are coming out with these NFT platforms. But even that, in the last few days, like CSCW popped up on NFT stuff yesterday, and I would say it wasn't nearly as strong as some of the other stuff that we saw in the last couple weeks that was popping up on NFT news. So might be losing a little bit of its steam. It's actually interesting. You really enjoy the research part of trading. I would say that the research part of trading is probably my least favorite part. I like, like I like the technicals way more than I like research. I think it's very interesting that, um, like you can trade a stock and have a general idea of what it's going to do. At least a good enough idea to get a greater than 50-50 success rate with your trades by like not really knowing anything about what the company does, but like literally just like trading off the chart in the level 2. I like that a lot. So DCTH, the only thing that popped up at 8 o'clock, and does not look like it's holding its levels very well. So I don't think we're going to get anything out of this. It's also a little bit of a higher price stock. These higher priced, like we've had a few higher priced low float stocks pop up in the last couple weeks. None of them have really done very well. They've all pulled back nearly immediately, and since they're a higher price stock, if you're taking any amount of shares on these, you're just gonna get wrecked when it pulls back $3 on you. It's not as bad as it looks. I've said this before on stream, but I think an interesting part of trading is that it's really the one of the few. Well, I guess there are a bunch of things like this, but it's one of it's one of these things where it's like you want to be doing what other people are doing. So like when you're buying into something, you want other people to be buying into it as well. So if you just like go on YouTube, go on Twitch, and you watch very popular streamers how they're trading, especially because you know that these more popular streamers, whenever they buy in, they have a following that's also probably going to be buying in as well. Even though they tell them it's like, you shouldn't be following my trades. Like, I want you to learn how to trade on your own. You know that there's like a horde of people behind these guys that every time he hits the buy button, they're all buying as well. So you said learning other people's setups. So like I just watch a whole bunch of people on YouTube, learn like all of their setups, and then it's like if you do the same exact setups as them, then you have a higher chance of victory. So it like really doesn't require like any imagination or like original thought. It's just like, can you recognize these patterns, and specifically like can you recognize the patterns that are very popular in the trading scene at the time, because you want to be buying in with other people. So I like that aspect of it. Requires zero creativity. You just gotta learn all these patterns. You just gotta grind them out. And I don't think it is super hard to learn. I mean, like I think it's extremely difficult to be consistent trader, definitely. But I think just getting into it, I think you can definitely, like spend a few weeks watching YouTube videos, reading some books, and learning. And you should be able to spot a lot of these patterns on your own. And then I think once you're able to spot the patterns and stuff, then you kind of have to work on like the mentality aspect, where it's like you need to be willing to, buy a position and then hold it, even if it goes down until the point that your technicals are telling you to hold it down till. And I usually like to uh, get like a rough evaluation of like my profit loss ratio when I go into trades. All right, so let's take RKDA for example. It just started pushing up. So the buy price for this was probably, well, I zoomed in a little too far there, but we probably wanted to buy it as this second 5-minute candle was forming. So back here on the push up through 320, and if you're buying on the push up through 320, so you're doing like a 5-minute candle setup, you need to be willing to like hold down to 311, which is a 9-cent dip, right? And then as far as profit target goes, the last big price that it bounced off of was about $3.40, which is just above VWAP. So your first price target is going to be coming into VWAP. So if we're buying at 320, looking at coming into VWAP at 336, so it's like a 16% or a 16-cent profit versus a 9-cent loss. So to me, that's a very good profit loss ratio. It's almost a 2-to-1 profit loss ratio. So I like trades that have a good profit loss ratio on the technicals before I actually buy into them. So in RKDA, buying at 320 would have been a great idea. Now, if we're buying for the next 1 minute setup up, we have a much greater downside. We're going to be buying at a 330. Our downside is now 319. So 11 cents down, and then our first profit target is still probably going to be a VWAP. So we're looking at 10 cents up and 11 cents down. That profit loss ratio is not nearly as good. So since I missed the first setup, I'm probably not going to buy in for the second setup until we get a pullback. Yeah, it's a weird thing, right? Because like, if announcing your trades or showing your trades on stream, isn't allowed, then it's like, are financial advisors allowed? Because essentially that's what they do, right? Like they like figure out where good places to buy and sell are, and then they tell you what to do. So it's like I feel like there's like some weird line where if they accidentally cross too far over and they make too many rules, there's going to be like a lot of financial occupations that could be affected by it. I guess you can have the caveat and say like you need to be licensed or something if you're going to be doing that. But I don't actually know how that whole process takes place. So let's see how RKDA. Yeah, that's the way it goes, dude. See, that's like that's like that mentality thing, right? Where did you get in at? Oh, you got in at 310. Yeah. So you were real early. All right. So if you're like trading at 310, say we're looking at the minute chart. Say you're trading on a minute chart. You got in at 310. Pushed up, pushed up, pushed up. Not really much of a pullback. Really nice candle. Pullback. I sometimes like taking off half a position when it's pulled back half of the last big candle. When you have a big move like this, there's almost certainly going to be a pullback, right? It's like very infrequently do you put in a candle that looks like this on the 1 minute compared to some of the stuff back here, and you don't get a little bit of a pullback. So you got to tolerate a little bit of a pullback. This pulled back about half the candle. Usually, if it pulls back more than half the candle, I like taking off half, like immediately, if I haven't come into one of my profit targets. But yeah, like mentality-wise, like someone who is like a very steady trader, it's like consistently profitable. Like I'm sure that they'll be holding through this consolidation, waiting for the breakout. And like you have to have that like that confidence that when you're buying into your position and you think that you're in a good trade, even if you get a little bit of a pullback, if the trend is still there, then you just got to hold it. You know, looking for that. You got to make the most out of all of your trades. And like I'm obviously still working on that. I'm not good at it either. But it's something that I'm like actively trying to look at when I make poor decisions in my trades, and I'm trying to take steps to make better decisions. I mean, there are celebrities that did that, right? Like 50 Cent did that with vitamin water back in the day. I think he actually got fined for it. Um, but I don't think it's illegal. Like if they buy a position in a company and then they tweet out like love this product, like I don't think something like that's illegal. Like if you hold a position in a company and you think it's like a really solid company, like if I'm holding like Palantir, right? And I'm like convinced that like Palantir is definitely going to go up. Like I could tell other people about it. It's like at what oh, we got TAOP coming up a little bit here. But super light volume, so I don't love how little volume this is pushing at the moment. I'd want to see this push some more volume. Oh yeah, dude. Untold amount of money. Yeah. And then the problem is, it's like if you want to put regulations on that, like how do you define fame, right? Is it like if you have X number of followers, you can no longer push your products, but like if no one's listening to you, you could say whatever you want, right? It's very difficult to try to stop something like that. Yeah, if you have a check mark, you can't say anything about stocks. I'd love to see that. So TIOP coming up. ISR just popped up on the scanners as well. ISR a little bit of a lower price stock. I'm going to keep TAOP up on the side here. But yeah, it's not really trading the volume I want to see. It has moved up quite a bit. Obviously started today at 1045, now sitting at 1378. But with this little volume, this thing could sell off really hard at any time. So it's just like I would have a hard time trying to buy into this, especially now because we're pretty extended on the 5 minute. We've put in 3 pretty large green candles in a row. Definitely need to see a bit of a pullback, and also I'd like to see more volume coming into it on the next push up. But as far as volume goes, all of the highest volume is on the big green candles, so it's what we want to see. It's looking like it's in a nice uptrend. It's just the volume really isn't there. If this thing was pushing 50,000 shares of volume on every candle, I think we'd be looking really good. But when the volume is so light, like I said, it's just so one person with a big position could turn this stock around by themselves, right? And just like if someone sells off 5,000 shares of this right now, it could just drop below view up, and it's already pretty extended. So wait for the pullback. We'll see how the pullback looks. TAOP definitely slow rolling a little bit, so it didn't pop on my scanners until later in its move. I think it had too little volume in the beginning of the move to actually pop up on the scanners. I try to filter by like volume traded to try to weed out some of those false positives we get, but sometimes it doesn't always help. Yeah, ISR ends up kind of being a dud as well. Had over 75,000 shares of volume on this first candle, which I would say is also pretty light for a low price stock like this. And the float, I didn't even look at the float. So 140 million share float stock. This amount of volume isn't going to be moving this thing at all. It's not even worth looking at until this thing starts pushing, hundreds of thousands of shares of volume every minute. RKDA, pretty That's a pretty nice consolidation here. The fact that it tapped up to 333 a couple times now and it's pulled back isn't great. It's really fighting some resistance coming up into those levels. But you know, it's consolidating very, very close to its, I don't know what you want to call it, recent highs, pivots. I know people use the word pivot for recent highs, so yeah, but it's very, you know, it's very close to its recent high, so could be looking all right. What do you look at to predict what it will be at? Like like whether it's gonna go up or down. um, so definitely look at price action in general. So on RKDA, right? If we let's look at it throughout this morning on the 5 minute at the very least, right? So pushed up, not really great volume on the initial push up here. This green candle had decent volume, but here back here after it tapped off of $4.10, this pullback was on the highest volume of the day at the time, right? So it pushed almost 500,000 shares of volume in 5 minutes. So this is a bad indicator. Pulling back on high volume is not what you want to see. If you get a pullback, you want to pull back on lighter volume than you pushed up. And then again, so we pulled back, then we have sideways consolidation here. So we're consolidating a little bit. These candles are, you know, either being enclosed by the prior candle or at least looking like they're consolidating around like a middle. Consolidating is essentially just when the range of prices at which it trades in gets smaller. So you can see that there's like a big red candle here on the 5 minute. So let's see if I can, yeah. So big red candle here on the 5 minute. Then we have like smaller candle, smaller candle, smaller candle. So we have a few small candles that seem like they're moving around a middle price, which in this case was somewhere around 384, something like that. So when you trade sideways like that for a period of time, eventually you're going to get a breakout in one direction or the other. So in consolidation close to the highs, we would have liked to have seen this push back up through 4. Obviously that didn't happen. It fell down, and you can see once it breaks that trend in one direction, usually you get a more significant move. If this broke this trend down and then immediately got bought back up, and this red candle had a long tail at the end of it. Okay, so I should probably explain what the candle tails and wicks are if you do not know that. So for individual candles, the actual like square is where it started and where it ended. So on a red candle, it started here in the middle, it ended down here at the bottom. The wick and the tail, the wick is where it touched on the high. So like back here on this green candle, it tapped off $4. And this red candle, it tapped off $4.10. So this wick, so essentially having a big wick, meaning it moved up quite a bit, but then sold off, that's a bad indicator. The bigger your wick is, the worse it is. It means that even though you did get bought up a lot, by the end of the candle, like the sentiment had changed to selling. So alternatively, having a big tail is also good. So if you see something with a large tail, it means that in the beginning of the candle, people were trying to sell off, but by the end of the candle, the sentiment had changed, and there was more buying volume coming back into it. So generally, like, so we can look for something that has a big tail, but I don't see anything specifically in RKDA. But anyway, so it's moving sideways. You want to see these smaller candles, and then so after a period of consolidation, you have a break. Right now, this was trending up on RKDA, so you would want to see the continued trend up. The fact that it broke down, this is a break of the trend. And usually, when you have a break of the trend, you look for a longer time frame to look for an entry. So if you get a break from the trend on the 1 minute, usually Yeah, so usually you look back, you look at the 5 minute to see when your next setup's going to be. So if you like look back here on the 1 minute, right? This is when it broke the trend here, when it pushed down. So as it pushed down here, then you start thinking, all right, so now I'll wait for a 5 minute setup. But then it continued selling off, and this continued sell off is not a good look. Like when you get a huge sell off like this, it's a very very bad indication, especially when you so this sold off down below VWAP, pushed back up, it tested VWAP to the upside and then failed, and then so once you test VWAP and fail, that's like a very bad indicator. So at this point in the stock, we've had 3 very terrible indicators in a row. So it kind of made sense that if you now zoom out and look at the rest of the morning, it just continued pulling back. So, pretty good indication of what's to come. So now again, just recently, we pushed up and tried to test VWAP again, and we got very close to VWAP, but immediate sell off again. So that's just happens. But yeah, it's just good to have an idea of like, if it's sitting below VWAP, generally that's a bad sign. But then alternatively, a break up through VWAP and then holding VWAP is a good sign. So, people who are more confident probably on this push up. So there was a 5 minute breakout. This 5 minute candle tapped. Get my okay. Let me get my my price lines up instead of those lines. Yeah, so this one tapped off 332. This 5 minute candle then moved up to 333. So people bought into 333. So you buy into 333 because it's a 5 minute breakout. It didn't hold. It tested again on the 1 minute. Also wasn't able to break up through 333. So you saw, a 5 minute breakout that retested the same price target twice, and then as soon as it failed, you see a big sell off. So that's because people probably bought positions looking for this break of VWAP and then sold them off as it pushed down. And also there's probably shorting happening, but yeah, that's probably the reason why some of this stuff is going on. I really don't like to take trades on stuff that's below VWAP. And while we've been talking, TAOP has still been going up, but now it's just like, way too extended here. We've put in 6 green 5 minute candles in a row. It was already extended after the third one, and it's still pushing up. These green candles are getting, smaller and smaller seemingly. This one's putting in a little bit of a wick on the 5 minute. So we'll see if this sells off a bit more. But yeah, I can't justify buying in at this price. If I bought in now for like this break of the 1 minute over, 1467, I would have to hold down at least to VWAP, which is a full dollar, and then I don't even know what would our price target be. So usually, if we don't have a price target on the day, so we don't have any prior resistance levels on the day to take a price target of, we'll look at the daily chart, and then on the daily chart we can see prior levels of resistance to get price targets. So recently, we moved to 1470. So you can see this 1470 line is actually the resistance we're hitting at this exact moment. It popped up a little bit above it, but couldn't hold it. So just seeing these daily resistance could have helped us here if you're looking for price targets. But then actually, the next like significant level of resistance is up here at 1695. So it's quite high. So if we get a pullback and then a break above 1470, this might be one to think about taking some shares on. There are probably other price targets back in the years ago, but they don't mean nearly as much as recent price action. So if we look back here, looks like there was a little bit of support in the 1550 area, and then maybe $19. But yeah, recent resistance is going to be things that we actually care about. So it depends. Right now, I'm looking at the daily candles. My top charts are always minutes. My bottom charts are usually 5 minutes, but I switch to other time frames just to look at stuff occasionally. So I'm looking at the daily candles on this. So on the daily candle recently, we pushed up from $14 to nearly $17, but we pulled back the entire thing. So this is one of these things where I was saying like, this has a very big wick on it. And that is really not what you want to see. Another green candle back here, another really big wick. So it's just something to keep in mind in this stock. That this stock does have the tendency to make big moves up, but then pull them all back by the end of the day. So it's just something to be aware of. So especially when you're buying in and it's very overextended like this, knowing that on the daily chart it generally doesn't seem to hold its moves, it makes me want to take a trade on this even less. But we'll wait and see what happens. I mean, if it's looking like really, really solid, it's looking really, very, very solid right now. This last 5 minute candle, this last green candle, put in a lot of volume, significantly more volume than the last few candles. If it was pushing this much volume back here, I probably would have taken a trade on it. But it's taken a while to get this volume coming in. See, and now this is exactly what you don't want to see. Now we have this 1 minute candle. We still got 10 seconds on it, so it has a chance to recover. But now by far highest volume candle of the day, and looks like it's going to close red. So this might signal a change in the winds here. We might see a little bit of a sell-off below VWAP. I want to see how it acts coming down into VWAP. See, and the problem with this is now that this is put in a pretty big red candle, or it looks like it's going to be putting in a pretty big red candle on the 5 minute. If we wanted to buy this 5 minute breakout, which is going to now be above 1480, 1478, somewhere around there, we'd have to be willing to hold all the way down to 14, because even holding down to 14, that's still in trend on the 5 minute candle. And that's quite an ask to hold down pretty much a whole dollar. So now that profit loss ratio is not quite what we want it to be at, if we're actually going to take this trade on the 5 minute candle. But if it makes another little pullback, kind of holds maybe a little bit closer to VWAP, puts in another 5 minute candle, then we can have a nice 5 minute setup with a good profit loss ratio. And we're coming into 8:30 right now, so keep your eyes on the scanners. See if anything pops up on news. I feel like we've seen stuff. Usually 8:30 and 8:45 are like the last hopes. Really 9 o'clock and like 9:15. In the past few weeks, I haven't seen much popping up on news, so it looks like maybe companies are putting out their news a little early these days, or waiting until the market opens. So just hit 8:30. RKDA, making a little bit of a comeback here, but still sitting below VWAP, and it could turn around right now and just start trending down. So probably not going to take a trade on this unless it starts looking a little bit better. On the 1 minute, the buy above 316 looked like it might have been a good trade, but after such a sell-off and it's still holding below VWAP, I'm just not interested in taking a trade on this until it starts looking better. It's failed going above VWAP so many times now. So if you look at the back here, pushed above VWAP, sold off, pushed above VWAP, sold off. Came up nearly tapped VWAP, sold off. and nearly tapped again and sold off. So no, this is not a full-time thing for me. Definitely not. Yeah, I have a job I go to obviously every day. Um, but I just like trading in the morning. That's why I do pre-market. Um, because obviously I'm not around during the day to trade during the actual market hours. I'm also not nearly good enough to have this be a full time thing for me. Maybe in like a year or two, if I get better, I might be able to make sufficient money to live. But we'll see how that goes. I do plan to continue trading until I get better. And I was saying this before, but I think streaming quite an undervalued tool for improvement. Just because, um, yes, I have been profitable since I've started trading. I would say if you don't, so like I made a bunch of money on GameStop as well, which is like unrealistic. Um, so if you don't count the GameStop money, I am still profitable, but not very profitable. Probably over the course of the last like month and a half, I don't know, I've probably made like a couple $100 or something like that. I trade with like relatively small share size at the moment, just because I'm obviously still learning. But going to slowly try to up the share size, and if I can prove to myself that I'm making good trades and I'm not just like throwing the money away. Yeah, and I would say I'm definitely in the last like a week or two. I have been red. Up until now, though, like the previous month before it, I was green pretty much every week. But yeah, the last like week and a half have been pretty unfortunate. Definitely kept losses to a minimum. Like we haven't lost too much money, but we've lost on a lot of these stocks that have just popped up like this. We're watching YVR just came up on the scanners, and it just pops up, sells off, pops up, sells off. And some of them, like if it popped up on the 1 minute over 449, you want to take this trade in case it comes back up. But a lot of the things that we've seen, even if they do make this move above 449, they'll come up like 10 cents and then just sell back off down below view up. So I have making a concerted effort to try to be more careful, and I want to see these stocks prove themselves to me before I actually take a trade on it. So now on TAOP, we're putting in a little bit of a pullback, which is good to see. Um, so TAOP on the 5 minute, highest volume is this green candle, but comparable volume essentially is this next red candle. So it's kind of like a wash on those two. But I just put in a second red candle closer to VWAP, which is nice. If we even put in a third candle, that would just be spectacular. Like the more consolidation we get near this VWAP level, I think the better it'll be. If this pushes straight up now through 1444, this will probably be a buy spot for a lot of people on the 5 minute. If we're buying into 1444, we'd probably have to hold through quite a pullback on the way down, since it has a low right now of 1386, which we've just tapped off of twice. So we're putting in a floor at 1386. Might be a place people are looking to buy off of. So, looks like it's coming up a little bit right now. YVR coming up a little bit too, but still kind of consolidating right near view up. TAOP on the 1 minute buying up above, 1420 was looking pretty solid. I want to see how it acts near 1444. So we might start getting into a little bit of like a channel here where it's bouncing between 1444 and 1386 down here, which is that new floor that we just put in. But yeah, this is the problem with stocks like this, especially because they're this is pretty extended right now. Even with these 3 candles, it's still up a massive amount, and these candles really haven't put in too much of a pullback. So buying into these levels, if you're buying into strength on this, if it fails to make that breakout, you need to get out quick, because if it turns around, it can turn around very hard. There are people, I'm sure, from down here, down at like $12 that are still holding their position. And if they think that it's looking weak up here, you might see people with very large positions just start bailing out. And if that happens, this thing could easily drop, $1 before you can even react to it. Now we've broken through this floor 2 more times now, only by a few cents each time, but definitely is pushing lower. And unfortunately, the 5 minute now, this 5 minute pushed up to 1444, so the 5 minute buy is still over 1444, and it's now double topped there. And these double tops, people are looking at shorting into something like this. When they see it bounce off of the same level twice, especially on a 5 minute setup, people are either looking at taking profits or shorting coming into these levels. And we're seeing quite a bit of selling now coming down below view up, so it's just not really what you want to see. We'll see how this candle closes. We got a minute and a half on it. But, for the time being right now, it looks like it's probably going to close red, and this is by far the highest volume candle of the day. And it double topped off this level, so it's just not good all around. several indicators of weakness. I could see buying for the push over $14 right now. Just because this is a dip below VWAP, and then we might reclaim these levels. But with the way the volume is looking at the moment, I would say I don't have the confidence to buy into this. And I don't think there's been a day so far I've been streaming that I haven't taken a trade, but today is looks like it's potentially shaping up to be the first day. Because there is nothing that looks good at the moment. Get RKDA back up, but RKDA also not really looking very good. It fell off, and now it's consolidating at quite far away from the local highs. So usually what you want to see on this 5 minute is if this thing pushed up towards view up, you want it to consolidate close to view up and then break through. Now this thing has dropped down and is consolidating quite a bit lower than view up. Yeah, I think it's like one of those things where it's like sometimes you look at the stocks and you're like, this thing had a high today of $4.10. And if I buy in at $3.10, I have the potential upside of a full dollar. But you kind of have to take in like the probability of if that's actually going to happen. Seeing as we've already tapped off of and failed off of VWAP 3 or 4 times today, Like, you got to know if we're pushing up towards VWAP, we encounter a bit of resistance. Like, you just got to take those profits. Even if it does continue going up, uh, in all likelihood, it probably wasn't going to do that. So, just yeah, you just got to make smart trades, definitely. And then the current trend on RKDA is, it doesn't look like it's going to come back up to the highs today. To be honest with you. Yeah, that is true. Um, yeah, the ability to not set stops is kind of annoying. Just got to have those mental stops. And the problem with those mental stops is that sometimes a stock price will just turn around on you and flip 50 cents before you can hit the button, especially on Thinkorswim, because Thinkorswim's got pretty garbage execution speed. You just gotta be quick on the trigger. But even so, I mean, some of these low float stocks, like, I've seen people offload positions and like TAOP. I've seen people offload positions. This thing will drop down from like $14 to $13 before your stop loss can even trigger. And then all of a sudden, if your stop loss was $13.75, it's just triggering at $13. It's just sometimes you just get wrecked on those. Is SGRP coming back up? I know it popped up earlier today, but oh no, it's not coming back up. Looks like it's just it's potentially thinking about coming back up though. Very, very light volume. Definitely need to see some more volume before we take a trade on that. So RKDA putting in a little bit of an uptrend right now. But you see these big wicks on these 5 minutes. That's the opposite of what you really want. Yeah, and this is what I was talking about before, where it's like this tail. So clearly people are buying into these levels down here, which is like closer to 310. So I think people think coming down into 310 that this is a fair price for it. So it might be a place people are going to buy off of again. This is also previous support since we came off these levels, just earlier today at 7:30 as we pushed back up. All right, TAOP. So TAOP now, I'm not really sold on it, but I think now is the time to buy on the 1 minute, since we have significantly less. We've had so many false breakouts on the 1 minute though. But if you're looking at the 1 minute chart, I mean, now is the time that it's starting to come up a little bit. It looked like it put in the floor at 1360. It tapped 1365 a few times. So it looks like it might be ready to come back up, but it's still below VWAP. And the highest volume candles of the day are selling candles right now. So we need to see some volume coming back into this on the push up through VWAP to actually make the case that this is strong enough to come back up to these pre-market highs. So we got a little bit of volume coming in right now on TAOP. Oh yeah. So that's another thing. This is another like instant sell-off. Popped up, hit 14.10, and then immediately sold off 30 cents. So I guess someone closed out a pretty big position. So this is the problem with being close to VWAP. Or being below VWAP. Now, whenever this pushes into VWAP, people are going to see this as a profit target. Instead of seeing this as the potential to break through it and then go back to the highs. People are just watching this and saying like, all right, yeah, as soon as we get through VWAP, like, that's a decent price to sell at now. So, DCTH. I feel like I looked at this earlier today, didn't I? Yeah, DCTH just killed itself. That's actually absurd. Yeah, what is going on with this? It like popped up on earnings, like a lot, like $10, and now has pulled back $16. I have no idea. Apparently, the earnings, people had mixed feelings about them. 8:45 came and went with no news. So, and TAOP. So this is not what you want to see on the 5 minute. So on the 5 minute, we push down, put in 3 red candles. No 5 minute breakouts. All right, we tapped against the same level twice here, which is not good. But we want to see, once we put in a green candle, we want to see a move back up to continue this trend. It might be more consolidation candles, but we still want the move back up. As soon as this dropped below this previous low of 1360, this is a break of trend downwards. So now we've broken our uptrend. We were still in our uptrend up until this point in TAOP, but we have now broken that trend. So I would say that it's going to be very difficult for this to reclaim some of these levels, especially seeing the selling pressure coming into VWAP. So yeah, this might be ripped for TAOP. And you look back at these candles here, and you're like, what if I just bought in on this candle? It's, you always want to, as you're seeing it's coming up, but it was on very low volume when it was first coming up. It put in a whole bunch of green 5-minute candles in a row. So, it's pretty extended. There was essentially no great setup on the 5-minute. On the 1-minute, there might have been some decent setups. So back here, this could have been good as it came up through VWAP, but I still thought it was way too extended and the volume was way too light. So this was really the first push that came up on good volume. I've definitely made the mistake of buying into stocks like this, on this 5-minute candle, and I'm like, well, it's pushing up. Got to buy into it, but it has the chance to, essentially at that point, it's just like gambling, right? Because it's come up like so much, hasn't really put in a good setup, and you're just buying hoping that it's going to continue to go up. So yeah, try to avoid things like that, definitely. You want to make sure that every trade that you're making is a trade that's based on the setups that you know and the technicals that you think work. Absolutely nothing is going on, Shamshire. It's TAOP was the one that we were watching, but now, broke the trend, started to go downwards a little bit. And RKDA is still consolidating below VWAP, so not really too much to talk about there either. So kind of in a bit of a pickle. Not really too much to trade this morning. Yeah, and I said this before, I think this is there hasn't been a day that I've streamed so far that I haven't taken at least one trade, but I think today might be that day, just because I don't really see anything that's great. Yeah, I agree with you, but just from my from what I've seen here, where it's like, very high selling here, very high selling volume here, really big sell off near the pre-market highs, right? So we sold off a ton down through VWAP. Then on the 5-minute, broke VWAP, pulled it back, broke VWAP, pulled it back, tapped VWAP, or came very close to it, pulled it back, then tapped VWAP again, pulled it back. So yeah, it's been 4 times now that we've approached VWAP and failed. So I would say that I need this to come above VWAP, retest VWAP on the downside, and then as it pushes up again, I'd be confident in buying into it. But I don't think I'd be confident buying into it into VWAP, since it's failed 4 times already. Yeah. Announcement from Biden today. Did they say about what? Say any specific company names involved in that announcement? Oh, it's going to impact the market, really? That sounds ominous. Oh, is it another stimulus? Yeah, I mean it looks like it's another stimulus. The problem is, you know how like when you get the same catalyst over and over again, that catalyst gets a little stale. It's like come up the NFT stuff's coming up a whole bunch of times, and like every time it comes up, it's like less and less good. I feel like now it's like we're at the point where it's like everyone's like, yeah, we've already had a ton of stimulus. Like, how much more can you stimulate the market? Transportation stimulus. Sounds like I should buy Tesla. What? I wonder what transportation stimulus entails. That's true. How much more money can they print? The thing is, though, more money they print, more inflation there is. More inflation there is, the higher stock prices go. So, you know, we're crushing it. Getting that stimulus money and stock prices are going up. Come on. Oh, interesting. Well, that would be good. Is Ford's ticker just Ford? I don't actually know. Yeah, I don't know what Ford's ticker is. If it is Ford, then it's trading on literally zero volume. TAOP, you were going so well, then it just dropped off the face of the earth. Yeah, I wonder if the transportation stimulus stuff is actually for like electric vehicle construction. I mean, maybe Tesla's the plague. Tesla's been just getting dumped on lately. If we look at the daily, look at these, look at these wicks. These couldn't be right. This must be like some like weird orders going through. There's no way this thing went from 600 to 876 and then back down to 600 in one day. That's brutal. But yeah, I mean, Tesla's been in like a steady downtrend. Um, I didn't even realize it went so low back here. It went down to 540. That's crazy. I mean, I suppose there had to have been a reckoning at some point. It literally moved in a straight line from like $200 to $900. Oh, Tom's got the inside info. Do you know who will be manufacturing these cars, Tom? I assume none. What's the Ford electric car? Is it the Volt? Wait, they're making an electric Mustang? That's cool, I guess. GameStop's making the electric cars. Yeah, you might not know this, but GameStop actually has an electric car division. And they're going to be getting the $2 trillion transportation stimulus to make the cars. That would actually be so sick. Why am I having a hard time finding which of Ford's cars are fully electric? You know, for the Mustang, it's actually not bad. Fully electric Mustang for starting at 43 grand. That's not. I mean, that's really expensive, obviously, but for a fully electric car, that's not terrible. I mean, I don't think like the gas Mustangs are that much cheaper, are they? So it's actually pretty cool. TAOP still pulling back. Now pulled back way below VWAP. This is why I didn't trust this, this initial trade when we were looking at this, when it was pushing up here. It just, yeah, I don't know. TAOP is just looking a little weak. It was just so overextended at this point that even this little bit of consolidation didn't make me super confident that it was going to come back up. Yeah, that is true. Yeah. I mean, pretty much everyone's got like a fully electric these days, right? Or most manufacturers. So, Tesla's finally got competition. They still have all that infrastructure, you know. So, they're still going to be leading on like all of the charging stations and everything. As far as I know, I mean, are other car manufacturers even setting up charging stations? Because I haven't really heard of it if they are. I think Tesla's really the only people who are still doing that. Everyone's just hoping that the local Denny's put some charging ports out back. I assume they will. I have to assume they will. Do they not allow other cars to charge there already? Like if you have like the right adapter or whatever? I know their supercharger you probably can't. But don't they have like regular charging stations too? We need someone with a Tesla in the chat. We need these questions answered. So we're coming up on 9 o'clock right now. So this is really our last chance at getting something to buy here. If nothing really comes up at 9 o'clock, I mean, I just don't love the way anything is looking. RKDA, on the 5-minute now, putting in a bit of ascending support. So we've come down to this level a few times. So it's making a little bit of a ascending wedge between VWAP and this line. Yes, Shamshir. The same for me. They're quite expensive in both the stock price and the car price. I agree. I'd consider buying like a used Tesla for my next car, probably like in a few years. But I feel like new, they're just so expensive, dude. I mean, cars in general are just really expensive these days. Alright, 15 seconds. Keep your eyes on those scanners. Check out offguardians.com. See if anything pops up. Alright, 9 o'clock. So RKDA just tapped off VWAP coming into 9. We'll see if we get a sell-off here. I usually don't love when there's a run-up into 9 o'clock, because usually when there's a run-up into 9 o'clock, people see 9 o'clock as like the time to sell off. So we've seen this a whole bunch of times in the last month where you see something jump up, 15, 20 cents, and then come into one of these crucial levels of resistance, and then at 9 o'clock it just sells off and kills itself, and then it's not recovered. I think it still has the possibility of holding up, but up, is it gonna come up over it? Quite a lot of volume, and it's still struggling. If it doesn't come up over it right now, I think it's gonna sell off though. Yeah, I mean that just pushed a ton of volume and still didn't make it up over VWAP up. I would say that that's not great. Well, hopefully it holds above 330. I think if it breaks down below 330, we're gonna move back down to this resistance line. Yeah, pop down a little bit. So seems to be having a rough time coming up through VWAP, and scanners showed nothing at 9 o'clock. So, you know, kind of a very, very chill morning. Not really too much going on. I think it's interesting, like at least when stuff's not going on, to just kind of review some of the technical indicators that we were talking about. So, I thought that was fun, going over things that we should be looking for and why some stocks weren't looking good. RKDA, like, being able to go back through it and look at all the times it failed coming above VWAP, but now it seems to have pushed above VWAP. So I need to see this move up. Maybe we'll take a whoop. I have the wrong line tool on right now. Maybe if it takes a bounce off of like 340, comes back down to VWAP, and then like retests, I'd be cool with buying it after that. But I definitely need to see a retest of VWAP and it hold above it, because it has failed to move above VWAP way too many times. And it's not super uncommon for it to come above VWAP and then pull it back, the next candle. So give this guy a second. Yeah, really nice volume, definitely. I agree with you there, but for the amount of volume that it just traded, for it to only have moved 4 cents, 5 cents, that's kind of rough. Alright, so it's coming to 340. 340, previous level of resistance here. Last time it came up to 340, it pulled back, over 10 cents by the end of the next candle. So, we'll see what it does here coming into 340. Yeah, a lot of volume, man. It kind of scares me. There's such high volume and it's still struggling pushing into these levels. I feel like people are taking on fairly large positions pushing into these levels, and if it turns around, I think I think it's gonna be a massacre on the way down. Like if it starts coming back down towards VWAP, people put on tens of thousands of shares pushing up into 340, so they're gonna cut it pretty quick if it starts coming back down. Let's get the level 2 up on this. So, I mean, actually, yeah, not a ton of shares sitting at 340. I'm surprised it took so long to break through that. Now we got 20,000 shares sitting on 340, 25,000, 30,000, just adding up. So now it broke above 340 and then pulled back. So false breakout in the 1 minute there. Yeah, I mean, like if I'm buying into this, like what is the profit target I'm looking at for this? Like 5 cents. um, I'm probably not going to take a trade on this. It's still looking okay. If it holds above VWAP, maybe coming into the open, there's something we could do with it. But I mean, for right now, the thing is it's just struggling for every single cent that it's making. So not super interested in like fighting for the price to get like a 5 cent move on this. Especially something that's been trending down for so long during the day. or during the pre-market. Yeah, it's just this 5 minute is nuts, man. So it pushed, 3 times as much volume as it did in almost any other candle, and it moved from $3.33 to $3.39. So it's just like the moves we're getting on this are so minuscule. Like I would need to take, I don't even know. I need to take like 500 shares for it to be worth anything. But as I say this, we're moving up again. This is definitely going to be one to watch into the open, probably, if it stays above VWAP. Holding above VWAP is necessary for it right now to still look good into the open. But I can see it making a move. And these lower price stocks, I've talked about this before on stream, but it's just like, especially trading them into the open, once the halts, actually start, especially if it's pushing up into the open, the halt level could be like, 30 cents above what it starts at. So you're looking at like an absolute maximum move up of 30 cents on some of these lower price stocks. So it's like, I don't love trading them directly into the open. So I would like wait, give it a minute, let it like settle out, see what's going on. If it's like really going crazy and it opens and like halts up immediately, then maybe I'll rethink trading it. But I like to usually give this some time to shake out when the open happens. And I don't think I'm going to take a trade on this before the open, so. Alright. Past 9 o'clock, obviously. Nothing really popped up on news, so. Probably end the stream here. TAOP. I don't really like trading into the open for anyone who hasn't been here before. I usually don't take trades between like 9:20 and 9:30. But, so, I'll end the stream here. Just stuff that we were looking at. TAOP. Has completely sold off, essentially. It's sold off like nearly half its move. It's putting, 8 red candles, so it's really not looking good. RKDA, as long as this holds above VWAP coming into the open, I think we could be okay on it. We haven't really looked at GME, but I think GME kind of needs to come back above 200, and if it broke over 200 this time, it needs to stay above 200. I think if it breaks over 200 and drops again, I think we're gonna be in for a sell-off. So I'll keep an eye on that. And then besides that, there's not really too much we looked at. Yeah, I think RKDA gonna be one to watch. TAOP also potentially one to watch coming into the open. I could see it coming back up. Yeah, so those are the two I'm gonna be watching, and of course, GameStop. So. Wish all you guys the best of luck trading into the open. Hope everyone makes money. And I will see you guys tomorrow.